kurze. I think I'm ready, right? I see I'm making the last tech checks here. YouTube should be on air, Twitch should be on air, and Discord should be on air. So I would say hello folks, welcome to Saturday's market analysis. We are trying to figuring out what could happen this weekend until Monday. Um, I, I I have checked the data before, but I'm not going to surprise you, I guess. Let us talk about the daily weights ratio first. I just want Mughal, can you confirm? Can you see the live stream on YouTube as well? Oh, yeah, great. Okay, then let us continue. Nothing new here. Okay, you remember I told you just a few weeks ago, it's 2 weeks ago, that I noticed that the weights ratio daily was very high, and it was 3 days in a row. Then it dumped a little bit, and it went up. It dumped again, and I mentioned when that's happening, they are preparing something. And yeah, we had this dump, and then we recovered a little bit, but we dumped again after they raised the weights ratio. Also indicating bigger net flows, so inflows. Net flow is always inflow minus outflow. So the difference between both was actually in favor of the inflows, and we had here a net flow of almost 2,000 Bitcoin. So it wasn't that much. But interesting is, since we had this kind of big weights ratio in a row, the stablecoin reserves on exchanges have started to decline. And actually, just to explain why that's a useful indicator, like the stablecoin supply, for example, is when the stablecoin reserve is declining, that's not necessarily bearish or bullish. It depends what the price action is doing. So, for example, if the stablecoin reserve is declining and we are dumping, for example, that means usually that they are selling and taking out stablecoins. So their reserve of the exchange is declining. That makes sense, right? Interesting here is the blue line, the stablecoin supply in the whole market. That's the whole market. So DEX, SEX, everything. And usually it's always just rising, and at the moment it's declining. And the daily, we can't really see that. We will change now to the Oli view. And here you can see how it dumped, almost it dumped. I mean, we are talking about yeah, almost $1 billion that reduced the stablecoin balances in the market since, well, just 2 days ago. And that's big, because that means they have or in other words, these stablecoins just go back to the treasury and they burn this stable coin because no demand is in the market anymore. That means that these guys, so the clients that are bringing the stable coins back to the treasury, want to convert the stable coins to fiat, for example, and that means market exit. That's market exit. That's what I said several time ago. As soon as we detect such kind of stablecoin supply decline, I mean, at the moment, it's not concerning me, okay? But if that continues, and we are not talking about 1 billion, but about 2, 3, or 4 billion US dollars, that's something where I would start to concern, because that means market actors are leaving the markets. They are not going to buy the dip, at least not in the next few days or few weeks. So that's something we have to check. And the same, of course, the stablecoin reserves on exchanges, because that's a sign these guys are selling. And of course, we can see that here. But interesting is the stablecoin reserve declined before we have started to dump, and even before we had this pump here. In my opinion, that was a big scam pump, but that's my personal opinion. So, however, all of you wealth ratio, it's maintaining a very interesting level. It's not dumping, okay? Actually, that wasn't really a dump. When I mean dump, I'm talking about such kind of dumps. Such kind of dumps means in case that the whales are preparing a pump, that is a pump signal. This here, it's always just indicating less sell pressure. Less sell pressure means it seems whales know something can happen, and so they are not sending any bitcoins to the exchanges. And actually, it happened again. So sometimes when we have that, we had immediately at the same time lift up or a pump. Okay, lift up or pump. So when the wealth ratio only is dumping hard, that's meaning we are going to pump hard. But in such case, like I told on Twitter, because the people started to say, you said we are going to pump, and why are you shorting? I said pump or lift up, because that wasn't really a dump. That was just a declining to a lower level, but it wasn't really a dump. That was not really a signal that they are going to pump huge. And that's what happened afterwards. Yes, we lifted up from 43.5 to actually 45.3, so it wasn't really low. It was a nice pump actually, but it wasn't really huge, okay, like this here. And that was interesting here, because the whales, it seems, didn't expect it such a big pump. And you know that this pump was driven by derivative exchanges, and not by the spot market. It's also very interesting to know. So here the net flows, well, since yesterday, it maintains. I mean, today it's a very quiet day. It maintains, I would say, very neutral. And the wealth ratio 30-hour average maintains a level. It's a nice level. Yeah? As you can see, we had here, for example, it was showing that the wealth ratio, all of you, was declining. So the 30 hours average did, and we had then this pump. But however, in my opinion, as the wealth ratio didn't dump, actually, in my opinion, the whales, some of them knew what's going to happen, but many others didn't. And usually, when all of them know what's happening and the wealth ratio dumped hard, is when we can expect a big pump. Something I wouldn't expect at the moment. Also, if I know that many are expecting, hey, we are going to pump to 42K next and then dump afterwards very huge. Maybe it will happen, but at the moment I don't see any signal that this will happen. At the moment it looks much more that we will maintain again this level, this tiny trading range. And it's interesting because I was analyzing the option trading as well, and at the moment they are trading a strategy that is confirming exactly that. I will talk about that later on. Let us go forward just to see all the data and to make a conclusion. But at the moment, less activity. We have here our derivative exchanges, and as you can see, we have really low activity today. Less spot, less stable coins. Today it's really quiet. I wouldn't expect any big activity today because of that. In the spot market, spot exchanges, for example, we had once stablecoin inflow by almost 80 million US dollars. And what happened? I will show you that. What happened then? Can I use that? No. Let me use this one. Well, as you see, they tried to pump and they failed. As soon as they tried to pump, the volume rised, indicating the sell pressure rised as well. And I can show you why that happened. We will talk about that. Just mark this part of the trading today with a high volume and the 80 million stablecoin because it's related to exchange wall that I have detected yesterday, actually, if I remember well. Well, let us keep going. So, just spot market stablecoins, they tried to pump, it failed, and since then they stopped. Let us check a little bit the future market. Well, as you see here, we have stablecoin inflows and outflows, and we have spot inflows and outflows. Okay? Nothing happening today. Really, absolutely nothing. At the same moment, the funding rate is flipping to negative, indicating more shorts demand instead of long demand. We can see here the open interest, so we are getting more futures coming in. It seems more shorts than longs. And at the same time, we have here the leverage ratio. It raised a little bit, but it keeps maintaining a very high level. Who cares? At the moment, it doesn't play any big role because, as mentioned, no big activity is happening. Without flows, nothing will happen. Except, of course, they planned a move a few days before, and they don't need to make any inflows anymore. That's possible. We had this in the past, but it doesn't look like at the moment. However, something is telling me that we will see something this weekend. I can't imagine that this weekend will be, so quiet. Let us check what happened here to the Kingfisher. I wasn't using Kingfisher in the past because I know that many analysts use Kingfisher and they provide these charts on internet and I really missed to use the Kingfisher, but I think with all the information I'm providing, these liquidation clusters are very interesting. Let me explain what that means, because some of you just asked me, hey Inspo, I don't know what this liquidation map is showing. Well, when you place a long position on futures with, I don't know, X leverage, okay, doesn't matter. You have an entry price and you have a liquidation price. So, for example, we are starting like it's showing here at 13.94, our entry, and we start a long, okay, with low leverage, with a liquidation price of 27. Your money, okay, should be here. So this map is showing you the contracts, the pending contracts, these contracts that are still active, their liquidation prices. So sometimes they works like a magnet. Why? I mean, it's really easy to explain why. Because if I want to pump up, I don't need to buy a lot of Bitcoin. I just need to buy that much of Bitcoin that I trigger these liquidation levels, because I will start to liquidate all these contracts and the exchanges will start to buy. The opposite happens here. If I start to sell my Bitcoins to a point that I reach, for example, this cluster here, that's like a domino piece that I just that I just trigger, and all other domino stones will fall. And that's the same here. So I don't need to sell all my Bitcoins, for example, to reach 30K. For me, it's better as a whale just to dump enough Bitcoin to reach 36.8 to start to trigger this long cascade. And they will generate sell pressure, and that's what happened yesterday. Okay, so this liquidation map is useful with all the information that we are taking into account in my analysis every day. At the moment, we have here at 41.6. That would be a good start. We would start to liquidate 150 million in shorts, and as you can see, we have two bars with 150 millions, and actually at 41.7, I would say 41.7, we have 240 million, and just a bit later 260 million. So that's really, actually they are building a big cluster, liquidation cluster there. So it would make sense to pump up a bit. But in my opinion, something is preventing that. And I think that's related to option trading. However, we have here all these longs to liquidate. And the most interesting part is the new longs, it seems, are low leverage. So they have a liquidation price below of 31K. If they really want to push the price down, liquidating all these clusters the way down to 30K, we will see a price below of 30. But that's not a prediction, that's just a scenario that can happen. Okay? The same here. If they start to liquidate all this cluster, it makes sense to go further, and we could go back to 44K. But what happened afterwards? They need to play, to distribute in that level again to accumulate enough longs like we did in the last few days. That's why we have started to dump actually. And because, in my opinion, their relation to option trading. That's the spot market. Almost flat. Yeah, the 80 million stable coins, but the highest spot inflow is 700 Bitcoin. That's nothing. That's really absolutely nothing. And it seems that was enough just to push the price down, just to prevent a little bit this, I mean, this Bitcoins and the walls that I detected. Okay, we have to combine both. Because you remember, I think it was yesterday, I tweeted about, I have detected on BitMEX and on Kraken walls with almost 50 or 20 million US dollars. Sell walls where I said, it seems they are trying to limiting the way up, and I guess when they noticed this 80 million stable coins, they sent very quick some spots, some bitcoins, just to push the price down again. Well, miners, nothing happening here. They are not in sell-off mode. They are very, relaxing, these guys. So let us talk a little bit about option trading. Or let us, just a moment, let us take a look to CoinGlass, to the funding rates. I was talking about, and I told you, the funding rate just declined. And you can see it declined. It's not big. We have on Gate, we still have something positive. It's not big. It's flipping to bearish. BitGet neutral. Well, FTX bearish, 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 but not that bearish. It's okay. It's almost neutral, I would say. And let us go ahead with option trading. First of all, my next scope for option trading is the expiry next Friday. We have a max pain of 40K, but you know, it all depends of volume. We have here an open interest of 600 million US dollars. That's nothing. March 25th is going to be huge with 2.4, 2.5 billion US dollars. And we have here much more calls than puts. Okay, that's going to be very interesting because Justin and George noticed something. As much calls we are getting, bigger the possibility that we are going to dump. And actually, that's happening. We have to take a look on that. Because it seems someone is playing against all these calls. Something like what I guess certain exchanges try with their customers just to wreck them, to liquidate them. It's possible that maybe the institutionals are trying to liquidate their own customers here too. I don't know. It's just a theory, but it looks like, because it's very strange. Well, what happened here let us take a look for March 11th. We have more puts than calls for 39K. It's okay. We can see here, we had some buys, but also big sells. And in calls, not really happening something. More sells. And that's something I detected as well. If we check the Btc Top Traded Instruments, we can see here this 21 million for 39K. And here as well, for the same expiry, that should be related to a strategy, in my opinion. Same strike, same expiry, same price level, just 20 million in puts and 60 million in calls. Something is expecting much more, a price lower than 39K, and that's why he's spending, I guess, more money in puts than in calls. But I think this trade was related to one strategy. Let us take a look here. We have 41K calls for next week, Friday, 11 million. It's low volume. Nobody cares about that. Really not. Let us check here, March 11th. Calls are out of the money. They are making loss, 55%, and puts 28%. So puts are in favor right now. Let us check what happened to the open interest. Let us check here just in March. Zack, zack, zack. So, and we want to check the change. Jesus, I have to disable. Okay. So we can see for is that Monday? No, that's Sunday. We have an expiry tomorrow, but well, it's not a big one. However, we can see here the biggest trade happened at 37K. We received here the biggest open interest for puts. So they are expecting a price below 37K. The question is if that's also related to some strategy. 39K calls. It's the biggest open interest. March 7th, I don't care actually, but however, also here again, and that doesn't look like related to any strategy. Somebody is expecting 37K as put, so he's expecting a price at 37K and below. March 11th, that's where my focus is on. We can see here, well, yeah, current price 39K. I think, as mentioned, I think that these are related to the trades I have mentioned just a few minutes ago. And we have here 41K calls, so also something. I don't see big moves yet. Nothing where I would say, looks interesting. It doesn't. Let us check the open interest in general. I have to disable all the other dates. Wow, March 11th. We have big open interest at 42K and also at 46K. But as mentioned, it seems somebody is playing against those big lots in calls in favor of the puts. And that could be related also to the delta. You remember gamma, sorry, not to the delta, the gags. And that's something that George and Justin mentioned, and I was checking that a little bit. As soon as the gamma rises to a top, the price starts to dump. And that's almost happening every time, and that's something very interesting because it happened again. The gamma was at 86, so really high, and we have started to dump. So I'm expecting the gamma have to dump a little bit more. It means that the price should decline even more. So it's much more looking bearish than bullish at the moment related to the gamma. And also interesting is if we check, for example, what strategy these guys are playing in the last 24 hours, and we can see the notional, so where the biggest volume happened here, and that was on short straddle. And short straddle actually is a strategy where you expect a low volatility, much more a sideways run. And that's interesting because if that's the case, yeah, you see, I mean, BTC 29th of April 29th, they have calls and puts. They sold both here, the big lots, but the short straddle is something related to a sideways run, and that's really interesting because it seems these guys are expecting a tiny trade range for the next days or weeks. That's something we need to wait, but in short case that would be a little bit, well, not in our favor. And let us make here the check of our market makers and retailers. Retailers, Jesus, they are buying and buying and buying and absorbing a lot of bitcoins. Of course, a big difference of volume. Market makers own 5.5 million bitcoins, retailers 1 million, but who cares? Doesn't matter. Market makers doing what they love to do. They sell, buy, sell, buy. So they never sell straight down. And well, opposite to retailers, they're just buying, 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 buying. So I'm expecting here more sell pressure. I think that these guys are going to sell more. Okay. The last time where they started to buy was with 5,170,000 Bitcoin. We have almost a gap of 80,000 Bitcoin. So I can expect, if we really start to dump and the data is showing more a bearish sentiment than a bullish one, they have enough ammo to dump the market and to liquidate all the longs, even at 30K. So we have to be really careful. Another very interesting thing, and that's not directly related to Bitcoin and to the crypto market, is about the Russia-Ukraine situation. And it surprised me actually. Based on Forex flows, Forex is the currency exchange, okay, where you can buy and sell US dollar, rubles, yuan, whatever, euros. And they are receiving a huge capital inflow since weeks, not days. And that's really interesting because it seems that it started before the war. Meaning someone is bullish on Russia, it seems, since weeks. And that's really interesting. It's really uncommon to see such a capital inflow of 10%. Really rare. Because you can see usually US or Canada have a capital inflow of 0.47%, the USA 0.42%. Well, Australia in minus, and of course Europe in minus, big in minus actually, really big. I can imagine that many Russians, it seems some of them also insiders, started to withdraw their capital and to bring it back at home. But before the war. That's really interesting. We can see here also, we had, for example, 10% change in March 4th. That was just in one day, and you can see here how the price pumped up. And that's not really positive for the ruble, of course. $1, 122 ruble. That's really interesting what's happening there. Really interesting. Liquidations, well, as expected, they started to liquidate the longs at a price of 40,300, as I mentioned on Twitter. And they triggered this long cascade. And we are not done. And last but not least, the exchange. You remember I told you that I detected some walls on BitMEX. And we have here almost 20 million US dollars, actually a little bit more, 24 million, waiting. I mean, that's not that big, right? We know if someone wants to pump Bitcoin, they will spend 100 million, 200 million in stable coins. They can pump that up. Nobody will care. But such kind of walls have also, it's indicating you some interests. And the interest is at the moment, it seems, not to let pump up Bitcoin. It seems the maximum they would let them pump up is 40,260. Let us check again. 40,200. That's where they are not allowed to wreck any shorts, it seems. So it's going to be very interesting, but yeah, I think someone big has a big interest to dump even more and to liquidate this long clusters. We have to wait a bit more patience. You know, weekends are actually a time where they like to surprise us. But at the moment, based on the data, I would say we will see much more a lower 30K price action than a pump to liquidate these shorts. And I'm done. Let me check if we have some questions. Any questions? I'm from Germany. That's why I'm speaking like I speak English. It's much. I need to train my skills actually. I need to talk more with Americans and English speaking, well, English people. Um, yeah, so my accent is sometimes German, sometimes Spanish because that's my mix. Okay, well, if that's no question. That I like. I mean, if you guys don't have any question, that mean you got everything. You know, you know what I mean. You know what the data is showing, and that's making me very happy because that's my goal actually. And I mentioned that to all subs on Substack, and I will make this statement now here as well. I'm going to work together with George. Many of you know George. I have retweeted some of his tweets. I'm a big fan of him. He is a great analyst, and we both are going. We did one analysis together. Actually, in Spanish, I have tweeted about that last week. It was a big fun, and we will make more analysis in English in the future. And Inspo is going to work with George together. We are going to be one team where we will provide more information, more market insights, more in detail. George is a big option analyst and trader since 14 years, and we want to combine our skills and knowledge. So I will bring more stuff related to on-chain analysis, future trading, while he is going to show you more the part of option trading strategies and also TA based on supply and demand, Wyckoff, volume profiles, and so on and so forth. And I look forward to that. For that cooperation, we will create a website where we will provide all information. Our idea is to create the best crypto market dashboard right now, where where you will find a market calendar, where you will find automatically generated alerts related to inflows, whales ratio. We will make workshop videos. We will make analysis, streamings together, interviews, and so on and so forth. So we will combine our passion for the crypto and also stock markets and bring all this stuff to you. Okay? So I'm reading. Yeah, I'm reading the first question. How much pump we can expect in short term? Up to 40 or 41K? Mate, I did a statement. I said I think the market is looking bearish. Why are you thinking that we are going to pump then? Well, um, actually, if we pump, I think 40K is maximum 40,270, 40,300 looks solid. That's something I could imagine. That's something they would allow. It seems they don't want to let them liquidate some shorts at the moment. Autoposis, thank you very much. Yeah, that's really absolutely amazing news. I agree totally with you because I like George, and we both, when we are talking about politics, about the markets, about option trading, I'm learning a lot about all his skills, and he is learning a lot about on-chain on the other side. So I think we both will make a great stuff in the future. Something I really look forward. What's your profession? This is Moby. Ah, profession qualification. Well, I have studied international economics, and I don't know how to say that in English. My first study was electrical engineer, and my second one is international economics, and my specialization was geopolitics. So, all what's happening right now, it's also something that's interesting me. I see a question. I don't know if, yeah, it comes from Twitch, it seems. In your opinion, the likelihood to go down more than to going up? Yes, exactly. The data, it's not my opinion. I'm just providing the data and interpreting what I'm seeing and explaining you why my interpretation is like it is. So it looks much more bearish than bullish at the moment. Actually, also something that interested me is how Bitfinex traders are future trading at the moment. They have started to lift up, and it seems someone, I don't know if he just got liquidated, something that's absolutely possible if he started um, to long high leverage. But as you can see, the longs just, yeah, the longs just declined while the shorts are rising, are lifting up. So I think these guys are smart enough. We will see. Okay, another question. When we have so much shorts piled up, why aren't they liquidating shorts? Yesterday, 2 billion longs got liquidated. As mentioned, they have other interest. For example, to liquidate all the calls in option trading instead, because it's much more money for them. Maybe, I guess that's the theory, but that's combined with this gamma. What I taught, as soon as the gamma is very high, they tried to dump the price, and that's not the first time that they try this. So it seems that the market has market actors with different interests in market instruments like future trading, option trading, but all of them are really powerful. I mean, I can imagine that exchanges are also actively trading to liquidate some big clusters. But if these guys who are interested to push the price down are shorting at the same time, of course, I guess they have a big interest don't to let the price go up. So it's not just, oh, look. I mean, if that would be the case, that we can say hey, we have a big cluster here. So the price is going to go to 41.6. We will racked all these shorts, maybe the whole way up, and then we will dump hard to rack all these longs. That would be too easy. The market mm, is, is driven by different actors, and every actor has a different interest. Okay, our interest is just to figure out what these guys have in mind and to make money with that. But these guys are the market makers, and it seems um, it's actually possible that the market maker is not just one person or two institutionals, maybe a network of. And these guys are usually more trading with options. So let me see here another question. Oh, what happened now? Okay. Oh, wow, well done. Yes, you provide the data is great. I have here a little screen. Okay, it's much the reports from you, so I can save time. Well, as mentioned, I'm not going to provide every day a report, mate. It's not going to happen. Also in the future, it's not going to happen. I will make these reports, as you know, as much as I can from Monday to Friday, but it can happen. For example, yesterday nothing happened. Okay, the data was looking like the day before, so I don't need to spend 2 hours just to make copy paste. It doesn't make sense, and for you, it's not really, yeah, it doesn't bring anything. But in future, it's possible that we will make more videos in the weekend, for example, or just to special events. Okay, that's something I have in mind. Do you think the future data, long short ratio, OE, so open interest, order book depths, especially on Bitfinex, has recently been a good leading indicator of price moves? Ifinix insiders maybe? Yes, of course. I mean, Ifinix, Tether, we know their combination, but yeah, usually big whales are using Bitfinex to manipulate a little bit the price action. But as mentioned, I wouldn't say that future data alone is the key. And that's why I'm spending a lot of time to cover all aspects of the market. Because in such case, it would sometimes be more bullish than bearish, but then we dump instead. So that's a sign for me. We have many different interests playing in the market, and we have to figure out which one of them is leading at the moment. Okay? And at the moment, I think option trading is leading. Uh, much appreciate Inspo. Yeah, you're welcome, brother. So I would say, which exchange would you say is manipulating the price most often? Every of them. Binance Spot. I didn't detect any spoofing activity on Binance Spot, but check Binance Futures, for example. Big spoofing happening there. FTX spoofing, Coinbase spoofing, Kraken spoofing. Well, Bitfinex, FTX, Coinbase, all the Americans one are spoofing, are the masters in spoofing. I mean, almost everyone is spoofing there because they use algos. And many of what's happening in the market, for example, when we see such a low volume, it's automatically. It's working with algos. This chart following Elliott wave theory. Okay, mate, please complete your sentence because this chart following Elliott wave theory. I mean, I know Elliott. I like the theory about the patterns of waves and so on and so forth, but I'm not sure if these guys are really guided by any different. The only theory where I think these guys like to use is Wyckoff. That's why what they did last year, for example. Okay, that was accumulation schematic. I was wrong, and actually I was wrong because I noticed that the market was weak in demand like now, but the difference was that China didn't ban the whole crypto market in that time. It was a different time, and so the situation and the scenario was different. But however, last year we had the spring, we had an automatic rally, we had retest with high volume, otherwise low volume, fake rallies. So everything that Wyckoff mentioned happened last year, not yet. The only accumulation we had that was at 33K, and that's not a common accumulation. I show you that. Let us make 1 day, and yeah, okay. That here is an accumulation schematic. Okay? Beautiful. Really beautiful. The problem of Wyckoff, or not, it's not the problem of Wyckoff, but that's the problem of different schematics. You need to wait how the market reacts, if it's distribution or it's more accumulation, for example. But what happened here, that wasn't really a schematic. That was just quick accumulation. I buy low market makers. I pump up with a lot of shorts to liquidate. I distribute. I dump it hard again. I buy again. I let it pump again. I distribute again. I let it dump again. And that's happening. Actually, it correlates with the call and put ratio, and also gamma. And that's where I say these guys are playing a game, it seems, much more related to option trading. Cryptoric, by the way, how do you execute your trade, sir? Could you explain further, mate? Because what you mean with execute your trade? And I would say the last few minutes I will spend with questions, because otherwise it's going to be a huge session again. Are you familiar with the All In podcast? They mentioned some very interesting things today on how we coming close to recession. I don't know the podcast. I really don't know the podcast, but I can tell you we are hitting a recession. I mean, the thing you have to understand is the central banks have printed cheap money for too long time, for long time. All this money, what happened with this money? A lot of this money, they didn't, I mean, they spent this money speculating on markets, crypto, stocks, whatever. Okay? Companies like BlackRock, they received a huge volume of money to spend, to speculate for their customers. Nobody, at least I wasn't expecting COVID. But it seems all these guys didn't expect COVID as well. So what happened? The whole market flipped to ultra bearish. Supply chain crisis, energy crisis, rising inflation. So the central bank has to make something to stop the inflation, because a rising inflation brings recession for sure. The central banks have now to manage the situation in a way that's really a big challenge, because if they start to hike rates big, instead 25 BPS, 50 BPS, as many like Goldman Sachs, for example, and JP was expecting, they will trigger a big sell-off. That's absolutely not good, because companies like BlackRock and many other banks, financial institutions, will sell their customer positions for less money, making loss, and so on and so forth, and that would start a panic sell. So a market collapse brings recession, right? Okay. So they have to be very careful what they do. So when Powell says, I'm going just to rise the rates by 25 PPS, I think he would like to make 50 or maybe 75 or whatever to stop the inflation, but he can't, because if he goes this way, he will trigger a market crash. On the other side, if he is stopping to hike the rates, the inflation will not stop. So they missed the situation. They did, in my opinion, a little bit mismanagement. Not only the Fed, also the European Central Bank. And in my opinion, if nothing changed, also on geopolitics with Russia, with China and Taiwan, some tensions we can detect, Ukraine and Russia, if that's not going to stop very, very soon, we will hit a recession. Nobody can stop that anymore. No central bank, no government, it doesn't matter. Okay? I was reading, for example, right now that Biden has said, it seems, if I'm not wrong, he wants to push Made in America products right now. That's funny, because Trump was yelling that 24/7 when he was president, and the people just don't want to hear that. But it was the right move. I mean, it's not nice in a global market. I know that, but if you smell what's coming, that was actually, in my opinion, as an economist, a better move. Right now, what's happening is just, to see if they can rescue anything, to save anything, and that's really, it's really hard. In my opinion, it's not possible because of the whole geopolitical situation. So, Vader, QE, too much until can't control, haha. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And that's something I remember a few weeks ago, Lagarde telling the ECB is not going to hike rates because we have a process, we have to finish that. Hey, 5% inflation? And you are talking about process? Well, okay. I shut up now. In your opinion, Inspo, what is the best way Feds will do? One side inflation, another one side market crash, plus war some more? Usually when markets are going to crash, if you see that recession is hitting towards to you, the consequence is always war. That's what happened always in the history in actually in our history. So yeah, I think that's going to happen. At least big tensions, Cold War scenarios, and so on and so forth. We have been in a range of 45K to 30K in over a year or more. Okay. Market makers are going to raise price. The whole move is corrective move or an impulsive one. I'm not sure if that's a question because I mean we 45K to 30K over a year or more. I think that's a question if that's possible, right? Well, of course it's possible. Everything depends on what the Fed is going to do, what the ECB is going to do, what Russia, China, NATO. I mean, we know that Russia has a lot of natural resources, and we know that the whole or almost a big part of our supply chain is in China. It's funny because I'm worrying about such scenarios since years that can happen. Globalization is also limited. And yeah, nobody wants to hear that. Okay? But that's the consequence right now. It depends on how a lot of yeah, it depends of a lot of factors now. If we can prevent a recession, but it's something I hope, but you know, hope is almost the last point before you start to pray. So I wouldn't expect that. Crypto Rick, we learn a lot from you, Inspo. I salute you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge about the crypto market. I'm your figure. Okay, thank you very much, mate. Big love to Philippines. With buy US making means no hike rate. My country do the same things during financial crash 1998. We made it. Okay, what country are you? With buy US making means no hike rate? I don't know what you mean with no buy US making. But I think a hike rate has to come. The problem of a hike rate, and I know these discussions also from Germany, many banks are not ready for a hike rate. The whole financial sector is not ready for hike rates. Okay? The whole financial sector is like the Titanic. If you say we need a U-turn, that takes days before the ship can make this U-turn. Okay, that's like, I don't know, a huge ship. It's not flexible. Just to say we are going to hike rates means the banks have to adapt all their portfolio, and that's not possible. Not in that time. So hike rates is going to happen because of the inflation. Okay, it has to come, but it will bring big challenge to American and European banks and maybe also many other banks on global level because they still have a strategy of low rates and we are flipping very quick and that's something that's not going to work. It can't work. Betas, as expected, war. Thanks, Inspo. But with war, market will crash. Correct? The cycle will be the same. That's something that happens usually. Yeah. At least war brings a big sell pressure to the markets because I mean we know that the markets are very sensitive at the moment. Okay, you just need to say something like Putin is 5 meters away from the red button, and believe me, the markets would crash, at least for one day. So that shows how sensitive the market is now for any kind of news. If we will have a World War III, for example, yeah, the market will crash, absolutely, for sure. And hopefully I will have enough money to buy the dip, because that's where, yeah, the millionaires are borning. That happened in the history all the time, unfortunately. So the best you can do is in any way to find a way to keep some money, don't to spend all the money, just to keep your money in case that the market will crash, and then buy as much as you can. Because that happens in the history all the time. And that's, unfortunately, I always say, these market cycles are like a poker game. Okay? You have your cards and you know you are not going to win. Okay, that's the past cycle. But after this game, you will get new cards. And that's the new cycle. I'm ready for the new cycle. I'm waiting for the new cards and to play with the big guys. And that's the same you have to do. So just try to keep some money on the side. In case that the market really crash, buy. And yes, Mughal, thank you very much for showing me the time. Yeah, you are absolutely right. We are making more than an hour today. Maybe the last question now. Sir Inspo, how long have you been trading in crypto market, or do you trade also in stock market? I was a big stock trader, much more trading European indices, not really crypto. As many of you know, I'm working in the financial area. I'm advising different companies in this financial area, and so I wasn't really a crypto fan before 2020. So I just came really late to the market. But then I started to analyze the crypto in general, not only Bitcoin, not only certain coins. No, the crypto market in general, comparing the crypto market with the political agenda. And the political agenda is showing us a transformation of our economy. Very interesting stuff about the transformation of the economy is if you read, for example, a lot of documents of the World Economic Forum, for example, Klaus Schwab, and so on and so forth, because that's going to happen. Nobody can prevent that. That's going to happen. That's going to be part of our history. Okay? Such kind of steps brings fear, because we have an instinct. We love stable situations. Transitions and transformation is something that we usually don't like. And that's what's happening right now, and that's what's going to happen in the next years as well. That's a transformation. Nothing else. And crypto is playing a big part in this whole transformation agenda. And that's why I became late, but I became a big fan of crypto. Because I realized how big role crypto is going to play in the whole transition and transformation of the economy. And when some people say crypto is in early stage, and many of them start to make some jokes about that, they are right. We are in early stage. In 2025 and 2030, actually, crypto is going to be a huge market. Nobody can imagine that. And yeah, so for me, even if the market is going to crash, and you guys know me, I'm not a shilling guy, I'm not a moon guy. I try to be unbiased and I try to be very realistic. Even if I know I will be in loss for years, I know that this money is good invested, really good invested, and I will try to buy even more if the market is going to crash. I wouldn't care, because crypto is going to be part of this economy transformation. And that's the end. Thank you very much to all of you for watching. I love you all. Stay safe. Peace to all of you. It doesn't matter if Ukraine, Russia, Chinese, American, German, whatever. I don't know any nations. Okay? Just peace to all of you. Stay safe. I love you all. And yeah, you will see us Monday with the text version of my analysis. Bye bye, guys.